All right, next up, we have Francois Peterson, and he's got the Act 345 Police and Fire Pension Board Actuarial Report.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
City Council.
I'm not the mayor.
Council Chair.
It's okay.
Sorry. Okay. So pretty much everything that Jason said about the general retirement system is true for the police and fire retirement system. Contribution worked the same way. The data that we collected to do this valuation was collected as of June 30, 2021. We use generally accepted actuarial principles and roll it forward to July 1, 2022, so that we can calculate the contribution requirement. We do the same with the financial information. We collected the financial information at June 30, 2021. Market value rate of return for the police and fire retirement system was 34.06%. Your assumption is 7%, so yeah, it was a great year. Echo what Jason said, this year doesn't look so great, especially the last couple of months. Maybe a little silver lining for that is that the first 6 months of the year were not too bad. So we will see what that does and how that helps. So I'm quickly going to talk to you about the contribution requirement. Contribution requirement consists of two pieces. First piece is the normal cost. Second piece is your amortization payment because you have less assets than liabilities. Your normal cost also consists of two pieces. The one piece is what the employees pay. Your police command members pay 3%, your firefighters pay 5%, and your police members pay 7% of their pays. And then whatever is left, that's the city's requirement. So the city's requirement this year is 18.67% of pay. Last year it was 18.78. When we convert that to a dollar amount, this year it's $1.865 million. Last year it was $1.69 million. Now the reason for the increase, it was about a $170,000 increase. You had more people in the plan. You had 10 more people in the plan, about a 10% increase in pay, and that's why your normal cost dollar amount increased. The amortization payment decreased from last year. It was $3.4 million. Last year it was $3.3 million. This year you had very good investment returns, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Some of those investment returns were offset, though, due to pay increases for your police and fire members being slightly higher than expected. Money was allocated to the bonus funds, and that money cannot then be used by the pension fund. And because we had more members entering the drop or retiring than what we expected.
Can you give us a little bit more information as far as how the drop program has been affected by this report? Can you hear us?
Okay. So the drop program is one of the retirement benefits for this plan. Instead of retiring, a member can enter the drop. Instead of receiving a monthly payment, that payment goes into an account balance, and that account balance over a period of either 60 months for firefighters or 84 months for your police members get paid into this account and then accrue interest. The interest that's being paid while a member is still working for the city is 5%. Members do have the option to leave the money in the drop once they leave the drop themselves and retire. And then the interest crediting is slightly different. But all the drop balances and all future drops that we anticipate happening is covered in your liabilities that we calculated here. And your drop balances are included in your financial information as well. The net city contribution is slight increase from 5.12 million to a $5.186 million, about $60,000 more. On page A2,
Sorry, Mr. Chair, just before we
Yes.
move on, the same page,
yes, sir.
the estimated percent of pay contribution, how come it went down from 56.90% to 51? Is that the,
Because you've got $1 million more in pay.
because of what?
There's $1 million more in pay. Pay in 2021 was expected to be $9 million. In 2022, it's about $10 million. And that's just due to the fact that you had 10 more members active in the plan this year.
It shouldn't go up, instead of going down?
The rate comes down, the dollar amount goes up.
Thank you.
Council Chair. So there's a limit of 84 months or 7 years for firefighters, and the limit for police officers was,
No, it's 5 years or 60 months for firefighters, and 84 months or 7 years for your police.
so just the other way around.
Yeah, police and police commands at
Thank
84.
you.
Sure. Okay. Your accrued liability this year is $243 million. It's an increase of about $10.5 million from last year. Your assets increased to $203 million. It's about an increase of $13.5 million. So your unfunded liability came down by about $3.2 million. Funded rate this year, 83.6%. So you've got 83.6 pennies for every dollar of liability, and that increased from last year's 81.5. And to echo what Jason said, these plans are some of the better funded plans around the state. 70%, 80% are fairly decently funded. We've got plans that are lower and much lower than that. For your so each year when we, like I said, when we collect information, we collect financial information, we collect your market values. We do not use that market values because they're very volatile. We calculate what we call a funding value of assets. We use 20% of gains this year or 20% of losses, and then so forth for the next 4 years. This year, we anticipated that the system would have $12.5 million in income. The system actually had about $58 million in income. So there was an excess income of about $45 million. We do not use that $45 million immediately. We use $9 million this year, next year, and so forth till the last one is used in 2026.
So I'm sorry, so you use the same thing, like Jason said, the 5 years?
5 years
Project.
exactly. Yeah.
Or do you guys use the same 20-year, like,
Amortization payment for the police and fire system is 16.
16?
16, yeah. So that $9 million gets added to last year's loss of about $2.7 million and prior year's gains and losses for a total investment gain this year of about $8.8 million. So due to your financial information, due to the great performance in the market value, there was $8.8 million more in the plan than what we expected. The unrecognized gains over the next 4 years is about $27 million. So you've got a buffer of $27 million sitting out there to either, if the market returns decently, lower contributions, or if the market does not return decently, that will act as a buffer and cover your contribution so that it doesn't increase too much or stays level. Okay. On page A4, if you look at the right-hand column, you can see how volatile the market values are. Like I said, this year it's 34.06%. Just a year ago, it was negative 0.64%. We've got a 7% assumption, but we never actually hit the 7%. We either higher or we lower than that. We just hope that in average, we get your 7% assumption, and so that so that we can calculate your contribution rate and dollar amount based on that.
Say that again, I'm sorry. You presume I must have, 7% market return?
We use a 7% discount rate, so we assume that the plan is going to earn 7%. We know that in most years you're not going to eat 7% exactly, but we hope over a long period of time that would be the aggregate return, would be 7%.
An average of 7%?
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. On page A5, we've got your gain and loss for the year. Remember a couple pages ago I said that due to your investment performance, you had about $8.8 million in gains. In total for the system, assets and liabilities, we only had $2.4 million in gains. And the reason for that decreased amount, it's about $6.5 million, was due to the fact that money was allocated to the bonus funds. But then also pay increases for your police and fire members were slightly higher than expected. Higher pay increases lead to higher liabilities. And then we had members retiring or entering the drop program earlier than what we expected. So those payments will be made for a longer period of time, creating higher liabilities. The $2.375 million gain, that is what caused your amortization period payment to drop by that almost $150,000. Okay. Like I said, 34.06%, that was your market return. We do not use that market value to offset against your liabilities. If we did, your contribution requirement would be $2.8 million instead of $5.2 million, and the plan would have been 95.6% funded.
I just want to get a clarification. So when we have this type of a return of around 34%,
Yes.
which is obviously great,
Yeah.
the next year, should we not logically have less contributions? I mean, to me, it seems like that's what would be the case.
Well, yeah. Due to your asset performance, your contribution should come down. But you did have losses on the liability side. You had money that was allocated to the bonus funds, about $3.3 million. You had pay increases for your members that were higher than expected. That leads to a loss. And you had more members retiring or entering the drop program.
What is the bonus fund?
The bonus fund, it pays for the pre-2001 retirees. It works on a point system. It's like a 13th check that gets paid to the retirees. And then the same for your post-2001 retirees. They have to be retired for 5 years, and then they get a 13th payment.
But that was only up to 2001, you said?
There's two categories. Pre-2001 works on a point system. Post-2001, you have to be retired for 5 years at least to get a payment. So somebody that retires today will only get a payment if they're still collecting a retirement benefit after they've been retired for 5 years.
Okay. Same question I asked before. What are the 2 points that you feel are great assets after having done this report for our particular city? And what are the 2 major concerns that you've got?
The market return is obviously a great asset, and your investment consultant, it's not just this year, but it seems like your investment consultant is beating the market or beating other investment consultants on a regular basis. Even when the market is down, he returns more than what they do. Another positive is the city is making its contributions. It's not easy to make these contributions. 5 million, it's been growing 3, 4, 5 million a year, and the city is making these contributions. And negatives or not negatives.
What are your concerns?
Concerns. I don't really have concerns for this plan. The plan is well funded. You are making your contributions. The funded ratio is trending in the right direction. Maybe the amortization period as well. We're at 16 years now. Also, we use the level percent of pay amortization, where your payment is growing with pay. There are other methods. We can introduce what we call layered amortization, where each year your unfunded liability is amortized over the same period, but over time it gets paid off. So you add a layer this year at 16, next year you've got 15 years left on that, but then the new layer gets added at 16. That creates more stability. But other than that, I think the plan is doing really well.
Council Chair.
Excellent. Go ahead.
Two questions, Francois. Number one is, how much of this money, on average, over the years, is invested in the stock market? Is it most of it? Is it 50%?
I
The
don't.
stock market right now is it's been up until a few months ago at an all-time high, but it's going to, is it 90% in stock market?
No, it's probably not 90. It's probably between 60 and 70%. Each retirement system, board got its own investment allocation. I believe that the Michigan Constitution, if they don't have it anymore, up to a certain point, they had guidelines of how to invest money. You cannot put everything in stocks. You cannot put everything in fixed income. But the majority is most likely in stock.
And is it I suppose it's definitely a concern that each year there'll probably be fewer and fewer participants in the pension plan. The city's employees are all going away from pensions and into other forms of retirement. Have you seen that with our system?
Not in your system. Your system is still open to new hires, and as we saw this year, you had actually 10 more active members in the plan. We do have a lot of surrounding neighbors and a lot of systems in Michigan that are close to new hires. So as people retire out of the plan, they cannot be replaced, and so it becomes a retiree-only plan.
So the more new and active participants, younger people working, paying into the plan, the better for the pension plan.
Well, it certainly helps the pension plan stay along. It certainly helps funding the plan. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any
Council
other
Chair?
questions from council members?
Chair?
Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you. Now, in the job program, if I'm not mistaken, the participants are guaranteed a 5% interest on their deposits.
The members that are still employed with the city, they get 5%. Yeah. Members that leave city employment and leave their draw balances with the retirement system, they have a different interest crediting.
What is that?
I believe it's 5.5 or half of market.
So if you leave employment from the city, you get a higher return.
That's
Higher, guaranteed.
That's what was
In
negotiated.
the event that the investment for that particular year is below 5%, where does the money come from to pay that 5%?
I believe that comes from the retirement system.
Retirement system itself?
Yeah.
Okay, what about it when it gains like 34%? How's that money distributed?
Well, according to the contracts, then half should go to the drop balance for that year.
Half, you say?
50% of the market return. Yeah.
So if I was a retiree in the job program and I'm guaranteed 5%, but we had a 20% return that year, I'd get 10%?
If you're not active member with the city anymore. If you're active member with the city, you get 5%.
5%.
If you left city employment, you left your money in the drop, and you are collecting your pension benefit, then you get 5.5% or half of the market return.
So the remaining balance of the investment, the interest earned goes into what kind of a fund in the retirement program? Where's the extra money go?
Goes to retirement system.
Goes into, what do you mean retirement system? What's that mean?
The money is on account with the city. So the city earns 34.06 or earned 34.06%, or the retirement system earned 34.06. It pays out 17% to the members' balance. The additional 17% stays with the retirement system.
It's like a general fund, you mean, for the whole thing? The whole fund for the retirement.
Yeah.
Now,
Fund for the retirement.
can that excess be used for a year coming up where it's below 5% to pay for that, the 5% or whatever percentage that you have?
Well, if the returns are below 5%, then 5% gets paid to members that's still employed, or 5.5% is paid to members that retired.
You haven't come out
It
of
will
that.
probably draw on that from the prior year then.
To your knowledge, do you know is there any time where the residents have taken on the burden or the expense of paying the 5% when it's been below 5%?
Not to my knowledge, but if you don't earn your investment returns, your contribution requirement goes up. That's part of the contribution requirement. The liabilities is included in the contribution requirement.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Council Chair?
Councilman?
But in here, in 2020, shows negative 0.64.
Yes.
So that's below
Yep.
the 5%. So the city had,
Well, this market value is based on the June 30 market value. I believe that the market value that's being used for drop calculations is slightly different. It's maybe a calendar year, or it goes from the first 3 months of the year and the last 3 months of the prior year. So it's not exactly the same calculation, but a market value is calculated. I believe the last return that was added to members were about 11%.
11%.
Yeah.
So like the councilman asked, so the past few years, it didn't go below 5% or 5.5%?
If it doesn't go below that,
Did it go below?
well, it dipped.
Or the-
Sorry. I don't know what the drop interest was in the last 5 years or on the last couple of years. We don't do the drop calculations. We just get the balances each year from the retirement system and
Who does the drop calculation?
the city.
It's the city?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and go to anybody in the audience, and then also anybody on Zoom next. Anybody in the audience have any questions? Come on up, if pertaining to this particular subject, right? Because the garbage is next. Okay, go ahead, come on up.
Just a general question.
Come up to the mic, please.
Come up to the mic, please.
Just a general question, because I have no fight in this either way.
Don't
Yeah,
forget
the
to say
past-
your name and your street.
Oh, my name is Ron Frenzy, live on Fairwood, Dearborn Heights. During the past 5, 10, 15 years, inflation's been about 2%, more or less. Now inflation is like skyrocketing, just terrific. Jamie Dimon, who is the president of J.P. Morgan, which is the biggest bank in the country, probably the smartest guy in the country on finance, said this week that in 6 months to a year, we're looking at a financial hurricane. That just scared everybody. So if inflation continues real high, which it is, and continues that the next couple of years, how will that impact your program?
So if inflation is higher, like Jason said with his plan, with our plan, we make assumptions of what people are going to get in wage increases. Your increases might be higher. We have not seen that yet with retirement systems where we did valuations this year. We have not seen wages going up because inflation is going up. But that might be one of the things that happens. People are getting higher increases. You are competing against your neighbors for labor. If they can go to the neighboring city and get more, doing exactly the same work, they might do that. So most likely what we will see is that your labor costs are higher pays higher, and then that will translate to higher liabilities.
Okay. Thank you, Francois. Anybody else have any questions on this? And we're going to try to keep it short because we do have a 6 p.m. meeting on kind of a popular subject here. So, yeah, we're going to talk some trash. Anybody else have any questions for Francois? Anybody on Zoom have any questions for Francois? Francois Peterson, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Did I
much.
pronounce it right?
You got close.
I got a little French in me. I got a little French. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right. At this particular point, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do like 2, 3 minute. No, not 10 minutes. Too long.
6 minutes.
2, 3, 4 minute break, and we'll go ahead and start on next popular subject.